Hi, I'm Dr. Patrick Garrett. I have a concierge practice here in Newton, Kansas. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about your health. What if you could just make simple changes to your food to reverse things like heart disease, diabetes, depression, and even cancer? What about even something as crippling as ADD or ADHD? Do you think you can make simple changes and really have a pronounced effect on these kind of things? Well, the reality is, when I work with my patients, we find that most things are self-inflicted. Whether we know it or not, we do these things, we eat these things, we drink these things, we rub stuff on our skin chronically that make us sick. And then we get on a bunch of medications and get a bunch of diagnoses, and we're no better for it. Basically, we spend all our money and waste all our time and energy basically being chronically managed. Well, I want to offer you something a little different, a different perspective. We have a workshop starting in 2012. And one of the things that we're going to do, besides, going shopping with you, doing in-home, kind of evaluations of your fridge and pantry, see what's healthy and what's not healthy, what would make your family feel better, what foods we could change, recipes, all these kind of great things that we're going to offer. But we're going to talk a lot about food. And, simply something like heart disease. Heart disease now, 100 years later, it kills 18 times as many people as it used to. 18 times. And yet it's something that since 1972 we've known as reversible and preventable. We know that people who change their diet can actually remove their angina within 2 weeks. People who have changed their diet can actually get off a heart bypass, a bypass graft or a stent. They can actually bypass the surgery, if you will, right? And that's because heart disease has to do more with our food than anything else. It's not a cholesterol problem. It's an oxidation problem. There's a lot of different foods, and I don't know if you know this or not, but that can actually reverse plaquing in the arteries. And that's some of the things that we're going to talk about. How can we introduce certain things into our diet that will not only lower the oxidative damage that leads to plaquing, but actually consume a diet that will reverse plaquing, reverse heart disease. Hopefully that's something you've heard before, but if you're like most of my patients, you probably have never even heard that you can reverse heart disease. Diabetes is another problem that we have. Did you know that from 1959, it went from 1 in 200 million to 2011, it's 1 in 2 people are either pre-diabetic or diabetic. Isn't that crazy? I mean, we went from it non-existent to everybody. And it's our diet. It's just a normal reaction to an abnormal lifestyle. Basically, we have to change what we do with our feet and what we do with our fork. It's a foot and fork disease. Did you know diabetes is even reversible in 2 months? There's lots of published journals and peer-reviewed journals and articles where they've shown this. And even with my own patients, we've been able to do this in as short as 10 weeks. It's an incredible process for somebody that's been suffering from diabetes and really, looking at losing their toes and losing their kidneys and losing their eyesight, to all of a sudden they have their life back again. They don't have that 27 years of life being taken away from them that we see with diabetes. So diabetes is preventable and reversible, but it's food that we're talking about. Depression's a big one. A lot of people are sad, and basically with the health care that we have, I'd be sad too. But depression is really a food thing. Did a presentation a while back called Change Your Food, Change Your Mood. And that's exactly it. Something as simple as a handful of cashews is actually just as effective as a Prozac, right? It's not a neurotransmitter problem that you have. It's not a serotonin, dopamine, or epinephrine problem. It's a food problem that you have. And we know this because if you change your food, your mood improves. We know something as simple as exercise reverses depression. More effective than any medication. And what's the side effect of medication for depression? Depression. Of course, death too for some, but there's easier ways to deal with this, safer ways. The first do no harm, primum non nocere. It's Latin for do no harm. There's actually a specific foods that we'll talk about that not only improve mood, but we can actually improve your memory. We can actually improve alertness. And most importantly, we'll talk about foods that will actually make you dumb. There's foods that will actually shrink your brain by 4 to 8%. And they're foods we commonly eat. What about ADHD? Have any kids with ADHD out there? I think the rates went from 0 to 1 in 20 children now. And if you're a parent, at least not my kids, but looking at other people's kids, you think it's probably a little higher, right? Did you know ADHD is something that is really a reaction to your child's diet? And it's painful to know that a lot of times it's stuff that we're feeding our children. There's studies that came out in 2010 that actually talk about 2 food colorings and a food additive, which is amino acid, that actually decrease brain growth, little nerve growth, by up to 8,000%. I mean, the chemicals that we put in our food basically guarantee that our kid's brain can't work correctly. Now, take it a step further. Many of the artificial flavors and colors and additives that we put in our food have been banned in the rest of the world. Production lines in countries like China, they have 2 lines. One for the countries who care about their people, and another one for the United States. This year, we actually had a FDA vote on whether we should put warning labels on food that has these additives to say, if you consume these, there is a risk that your child will suffer from ADHD. We know the cause, we know the effect, but nobody's talking about it. You want to know something that's even worse? Many of those foods, those chemicals, those additives, those colors that we'll talk about during these workshops are actually made from petroleum. You would not believe how much petroleum we consume. So take it like this. Johnny, eat your petroleum flavors, your petroleum colors, and we know it's going to hurt your brain, but I want you to sit still and act like the normal kids. Right? So we need to know what those chemicals are so we can stop doing this kind of stuff. It's a lot of information we'll go over, and this time we'll have some handouts. The last talks we did, we had 35 to 50 people per talk, but it was kind of a new thing. It was a pilot program. We didn't really have a lot of worksheets, and there was a lot of information, and people said, man, we need a workshop for this. So that's what we're doing. A little bit slower, but more information, more meat on the bone this time, unless you're vegetarian. Then it's more kale in the salad. So more often or not, diseases are just symptoms of what we're doing to ourselves. And the cheapest and easiest solution that I offer to my patients, and we'll talk about in the workshop, is just identifying these things, removing these things, so when we do eat, when we do drink, when we do rub stuff on our skin, when we do breathe, it actually makes us feel better. We have more energy. We want to live longer. So, living a lifestyle that's compatible with life and longevity. This workshop that we're doing, it's 4 different weekends. It also includes, going into your house, looking at your pantry if you want to. It's no criticism. We're just going to talk about what can help and, better suit your family, right? People have gluten-free lifestyles or want to do lactose-free. It's a big deal. It's a very big deal. And people with food sensitivities, how do you substitute things and still feel like you're not depriving yourself? We're going to help with that this time, right? It's $150, but if you RSVP by December 31st, then it's only $99. And that's for all 4 weekends, for the shopping trips, for the evals. We're going to go to the grocery store. We're going to take you to the grocery store. And we're going to walk down the aisles and talk about the certain foods that are healthy, that will help you. And we'll look in other people's shopping carts. And you'll start to see that person's going to have diabetes. that person is going to have cancer. Those kids are going to be hyperactive. Just by looking at what they're consuming, you can make very good predictions. And how do we know that's true? Because everybody's suffering from this. And we see when people stop doing those things, suddenly they get better. You need to be that person. You need to be that family. The one that steps out of the tradition that we have in the U.S. now and is that shining star. Those people that, why do they have so much energy, right? That's who you want to be. So call. The office number is 316-283-5708. And you can leave a message, and we'll try to get back with you and get that scheduled for you. And it's starting January. I believe I think it's the 11th, the second weekend. It'll be on Saturdays. So let me know if you have any questions. You can always email me at doctorgarrett@yahoo.com, and that's doctorgarrett. All right. This is a great program. Please spread the word. There's a lot of people who need this. We don't have a lot of seats open, but maybe we could open up a Sunday class too if we get too many. So please tell people if they need to know this information. Thanks, you guys. Look forward to working with you. Bye.